Aye.
Aye. Your children are here. I said, pretend like your kids are here.
Middleton and the building leaders. The Kennedy staff has made a positive shift in the school culture and has seen great growth in student achievement as a result. This is why we honored Kennedy leadership team several weeks ago with the district Rickshaw Teamwork Award and $1,000 from our partners over at School Expression. So congratulations again to Kennedy and thank you to our School Expression partners. Congratulations to all the student athletes. Of course, a lot of this has been a really good year for us from an athletic standpoint and an academic standpoint as well. But we had several awards. There were several national, not national, there were several state championships. Our Lawrence High, in addition to our Lawrence volleyball that won early part of the year, Lawrence High swimming and diving, Lawrence High track and field, and our Free State high school softball all won state championships. Do you recall we did have state championships as well? Hey, we're back. Debate state championships as well. So we are definitely a district that continues to shine in all areas from an athletic standpoint and academic standpoint. In addition, we want to recognize our Free State baseball also for a great season and finishing as state runner-up. Staff who make up our 5 action teams as a part of our strategic plan, they continue to work throughout this month and plan action steps associated with each of the strategic theme initiatives. Our strategic plan framework will come back to the board, our next board meeting for formal approval. So we continue to work toward, we're about 90, probably about 95% of the way through. So that's exciting. It's been a busy start of the summer for this district. We've had a lot of professional development and professional learning taking place here in this building. We had our CI3T training, our AVID Critical Reading Path, MANT training, and our project-based learning training has been going on. Our bond construction projects also are progressing well. I do want to remind all staff and the public of their safety and to follow the signage and fencing as it relates to our construction sites. So follow those directions in terms of which doors to enter and which areas to stay away from at both Free State and Lawrence High and Liberty Memorial, as well as West Middle School. 5 candidates have filed for 4 positions on our school board, including our very own Shannon Kimball, Thea Perry, Paula Smith, Carol Cadu Blackwood, and Erica Hill. Election day is November the 5th. Our newly elected board members will take the oath of office on the second Monday in January. Congratulations to our 117 graduates of the Adult Learning Center and Diploma Completion Program. I enjoyed celebrating with them and their families and to hear their amazing stories at our Adult Education Center, and definitely to commend our Adult Education Center staff for their work that they do with our scholars. That ceremony was last Thursday. Thank you to Kelly, Jill, and Shannon for your attendance. I do want to congratulate Danica Moore, our district's equity facilitator. She is one of 3 finalists for the National Education Association Social Justice Activist of the Year Award. That's a mouthful. National Education Association Social Justice Activist of the Year. The public will choose the award winner, so we do encourage all staff and all members of the public and everyone else to participate in online voting before midnight, June the 21st. And you can vote at neaedjustice.org. Again, that's neaedjustice.org. vaping.org.
And it only takes like 10 seconds.
Yes,
It's very easy.
probably 8.2 seconds. I mean, it really is quick. It's just your name, email, and click of a button. The Lawrence Juneteenth Committee invites the community to this year's celebration of the city's rich African-American heritage and the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation from noon to 8 p.m. on June the 22nd at Holcomb Park. This is a family event and will include food, entertainment, information booths, sports, and local vendors. Do want to remind our school families of 3 announcements. One, our nutrition and wellness staff provides free summer meals for children ages 1 to 18 at a variety of sites across the community. The City of Lawrence also offers a $10 summer bus pass for all of our K-12 students. And you may sign up for the Salvation Army and ECAN on Tuesdays and Thursdays in June for free school supplies. You can find information all about these events at our community programs on our website. The district will co-sponsor with Lawrence Douglas County Health Department, Boys and Girls Club of Lawrence, and other community partners a public forum to raise awareness about the dangers of vaping. And I do invite the public to attend from 5:30 to 7 on June the 17th in the Lawrence Public Library. And I would say this is definitely a pervasive issue, particularly at our high schools and even starting at some of our middle schools. Thank you to our partners over at DECA. And according to the Douglas County Youth Focus Groups, they had some focus groups at all of our middle schools and both of our high schools, and just had some conversations about a number of things, but this is what came from that. Vaping was overwhelmingly the most pressing issue for students. Students reported that vaping is cool and trendy. I will tell you it's not cool. Most were not aware of the negative issues associated with vaping and did not categorize it as cigarettes. Some students even reported that vaping is better for you than smoking cigarettes, and they didn't realize that there was nicotine in vapes, and nicotine is a harmful chemical. Vaping was reported as happening everywhere. Even in classrooms, students tend to blow smoke into their sleeves. It's happening in the locker rooms, bathrooms where there are still doors, on buses. Students reported that when vaping happened in isolation, so they want to do it around their friends, but also when they do it in isolation, they want to put it on Snapchat to show everyone. So I'd encourage all of our families to check your students' social media and have conversations about the dangers of vaping. And students also reported vaping in their bedrooms at home. So until they pay a mortgage, no door should be locked. That's what I say to my kids. I'm not telling you what to say to yours, but that's what I say to mine. And so I hope our parents and families come out and become informed about the dangers of vaping. Again, June 17th at the Lawrence Public Library from 5:30 to 7.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have any patron commentary. Nope. Okay. So moving on to board commentary.
You want to do facilities?
No, I forgot my sheet because I'm
Okay.
a loser.
All right, I'll do a quick update. GR and I had a facilities meeting last week on the 13th. We got updates from staff on all of the construction projects and the how things went moving out of all of our buildings. It was a huge task, and I know that we've recognized our staff, but I want to recognize them again for the massive amount of work that takes, especially at Lawrence High School, to move our programs out of that building for our construction. So thank you for all the hard work that went into that. We also heard an update from Ron May that there's some new safety and security grant money available again this year from the state of Kansas, and it sounds as if we'll be pursuing some of that. So let's all cross our fingers that that application goes as well as it did for us last year. We were really fortunate to receive a good chunk of that grant money that we applied for. Policy committee met, and that was Kelly and I met last week. We mostly finished working up on the policy updates from KASB from last December. They issue them in December and June every year, so we now have our June updates, and so that will be the next big chunk of work that we're doing on a regular basis in the committee. Will be going through that new set of policy updates and making sure that we've got everything squared away. I still believe that there will be some minor updates to some safety-related policies that came out of the December updates, but staff is still reviewing those and preparing them, so I think that that'll be coming the board's way next month or so. Last thing I wanted to share, we had, KASB had our quarterly board meeting this past Saturday. Not a lot of huge things to report from that, kind of the typical update on our strategic plan work. KASB is currently updating their strategic plan for the next 5 years, and so we've been working on that at multiple meetings over the last 12 months, actually. We heard an update from our advocacy staff, mostly around the changes to school finance formula and the Gannon case, and I think we've talked about that here locally, so there wasn't really anything new. Still waiting on the court opinion. It was Mark Tallman, who is the chief advocacy officer there. It was his opinion that we'll probably see that opinion released by the court sometime in the next week or so, but you never know. There's no sure thing with that kind of thing.
Were you named president?
I was just about to say, we had a few other business items to discuss, and then at the end of the meeting was the ceremonial passing of the gavel. So I'm not officially president until July 1st, but we had our ceremony at the end of the meeting to recognize our outgoing president, Patrick Woods, and to thank our past president, Dana Miller, who is leaving the executive team. We have a new president-elect, Lori Blake, who's from southeast of Saline, which is near Salina. She's serving as our president-elect this year, and so had an opportunity to recognize all of them, and I get a gavel for running the meetings. So that was a lot of fun.
Congratulations, yes.
Thank you. I'm really excited about the opportunity that it brings for sharing what we do here and for just dialogue with people from across the state in that position. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Good. Okay. GR, did you have something you wanted to talk about? No?
I'm good.
Any other board commentary?
No.
Okay. Okay, then let's go to consent, and we just need a motion to approve consent. Do you want to do, you have a couple retirements
yes.
to announce?
Almost forgot that. Okay. So we would like to recognize William Kelly for 34 years of service and Deborah Alberding for 28 years of service. We wish you much success in your future endeavors.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Beeson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Fincher,
Yes.
Gordon Ross,
Yes.
Kimball.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Under new business tonight, we have the 7th grade athletics, and I believe Ron May.
Good evening. Ron May, Director of Operations. You should have in the agenda, do you want me to pull that up?
Yeah, you can.
Nope. So as you can see in the agenda, in 2002, 2003, as part of a massive group of budget cuts that we made across the district, we pulled several 7th grade athletics from the junior high schools at the time, girls and boys basketball, volleyball, and then we also were paying a coordinator to help kind of do the athletic coordination for those. We pulled all those out. We were still allowing 7th graders to participate in wrestling, track, tennis, and I thought there was one more, cheerleading. What we are talking about now is we would like to start adding some of those back. We've had several requests over the last several years that we need to get more kids engaged in school. We need more opportunities for our students to participate in different activities. So the athletic directors, the assistant principals at the middle school level, we got together this year and we started talking about what we could do and how we could do it within the finances. So we're proposing that we would add a new sport, 7th and 8th grade cross country. Cross country has become pretty popular over the last 4 or 5 years at the middle school level. It's a nice fall sport. It's low to no impact on the head anyway. It's very affordable to add because we can use the track uniforms. We just have to add the coaching for it. We're also proposing that we add back 7th grade basketball for next year. The reason that we're just picking those sports out in the basketball is because basketball has not, we can still work on scheduling games with teams next year. If we were to look at the fall sports, we wouldn't be able to do that right now. The way we would like to do this is to use some money that we allotted about 6 or 7 years ago for schools. When they came to us with a proposal and we just couldn't fit it into the budget, we actually came up with $50,000. It was split up amongst the middle schools, $12,500 apiece. And that was to be used for expanding clubs and intramurals and paying sponsors for those kinds of things. They have done that, but there's still money that's being left over that's unused. And so as we put this proposal together, we made sure that that money that was earmarked for this kind of activity was money that could be used for it and that it was available, and it is. So obviously, adding the 7th and 8th grade cross country would be, you know, I feel like we probably have the opportunity to get at least 100 to 200 kids the first year new that are actively participating in something that we haven't had in the past, and that would be a huge engagement for the students. We plan on tracking those students and seeing how they're doing disciplinary-wise, attendance, grades, and things like that. Before we consider that, I'd also like to have Kristen Mallory, one of our great teachers and coaches at the middle school level, to give a few words as well, please.
All right, I'm pleased to be here today under much better conditions than the last time. We're not hiding under the stairs, so we're good. To talk in support of adding 7th grade sports to our existing situation. I've been a part of Lawrence School District for 25 years, all of which I've been involved in athletics, either at the high school or the middle school level, or both. It is very clear to me that student athletes as a whole tend to be more tied into their school. They are held accountable by coaches and teams who serve as an added layer of connection for students, not only on the court, but also academically and behaviorally. Students who participate in school sports learn not only accountability, but also the importance of being a good team member. Quite simply, they perform better in the classroom, they have less office referrals, and they benefit from the increased positive social interaction that naturally happen within a team. Unfortunately, our current middle school model doesn't allow for students to get involved in most team sports until 8th grade. In my opinion, there are some clear equity gaps for our students when considering athletic opportunities outside of the school setting. Students who don't have parental support continue to fall behind those students whose parents can navigate and also afford to pay for the youth sports that are available in our town. The other equity gap that I feel is clear in Lawrence has to do with females in sports. Lawrence has no shortage of amazing female athletes, as we've seen from our state titles that we've had this year, but they've been in volleyball, which is a very club-oriented and very expensive sport. I coached the majority of those girls in 8th grade at Southwest. I think 8 of the 9 that were on the varsity had been Southwest kids, and they'd been playing club since a young age, and that's expensive. Swimming is also a club sport. It's done in a club situation that is a high cost. Track is more of a natural sport for good athletes, and we have those athletes, and our schools have done a great job of working with those athletes. And then softball is another one of those club sports, and we have a strong group that has played together for an extended period of time. I would even look back to the year 2008 when I coached the state championship basketball team at Lawrence High School. I had a group of girls that had played together since 10 on a traveling team, and they started at Sport to Sport, which was, for those of you who haven't been here that long, it was where kids would first get introduced to sporting activities, and it was cheap, it didn't cost a whole lot, and it was a good introduction to those. We just don't have those opportunities for girls. Every year we say they're going to have and I'm a basketball coach primarily, but every year, they say they're going to have those opportunities in Parks and Rec, and they can't fill them because kids haven't tried them. I don't feel like we need to give them opportunities at a younger age. What I've seen since the freshmen moved up to the high school, and we lost those, was that female students were less likely to try out for a sport in 8th grade than they would have been in 7th grade. They flooded to cheerleading. I think Southwest had 29 girls go out for cheerleading. We had almost 30 go out for tennis, and then our track numbers are out of the roof in 7th grade. Because those are the only things they're allowed to do in 7th grade. Since they are not given the opportunity to try out for sports such as volleyball and basketball, they fall behind their counterparts who have access to club or AAU opportunities. Thus, our 8th grade numbers and eventually the high school numbers have declined in girls' sports. The earlier that we can provide access to our students, the better. I am hopeful and pleased that you are considering this proposal, which is clearly the right thing to do for our students. To me, it is a win-win, as our schools and students will both benefit from increasing the opportunities that are available at the middle school level. Thank you.
So as Kristen said, and as we said, we haven't had anybody that's been against it. The principals are all for it. The ADs are for it. It's something that's highly supportive. I have several people around town who are willing to come flood the meeting tonight and speak to you about it. I said, no, don't worry about it. Let us get in front and talk to you all. So any questions?
I just have a question. I think it's a great proposal. The money you were referencing was kind of a one-time balance of funds left over from something. I can't remember what you said, the $12,000.
Oh, yeah.
So how long will that fund this? And then what budget line in the schools will replace that when that's used up, so we don't end up having to cut it again?
All right, so I wasn't clear then. That's not one-time money. That was
Okay.
money that was budgeted annually. We've been budgeting that every year
Oh,
for
okay.
them. It just hasn't been used every year in its entirety. So, so the money has been budgeted. It's been there for the last 5 or 6 years, I believe. Is that right, Kathy?
Ninth graders up.
Yeah, ever since we moved 9th graders up, we've put that in there. So the money has been there, and that has been used. Some buildings use more of it than others do. But, and I want to make sure that it's clear that we've taken everything into consideration on this. This isn't just about the coaches and uniforms. This is also about paying officials, buses, paying workers, teachers and staff members to work the games, those kinds of things. We took that all into account when we considered the budget. We wanted to make sure it was a cost neutral.
Shannon?
I'm really excited about this. Yes, to all the things that you said. And it's really nice to be able to do something like this, where I've received emails from people in the community saying, please, please vote for this. And so often you're asked to not vote for something when people get a hold of you. That's why they're emailing you. So it's been really great to see those messages from people saying, I really hope that my kids get to participate in this. The only question I had is, you mentioned that we didn't talk about additional fall sports because the scheduling. Are we thinking about coming back later on this next school year and talking about possibly adding additional fall sports?
Yes,
to 7th grade?
absolutely. We're still, I think we still feel like that the money is in there to be able to do it with those other sports as well. Football is going to be a little bit of a, we're going to have to see how football plays out this year, because if you're not aware, the last 3 years, we've only fielded 3 teams of our 4 schools. We've had to combine schools. 2 years it was Central and Southwest. Last year it was West and Central. So when we start talking about 7th graders in football, we have to start looking at, are we going to be looking at combined A and B teams, or are we going to be looking at separate 7th and 8th grade teams, and how that would play out. Volleyball would be a little more similar situation to basketball with the numbers and the coaching and the uniforms.
But we think that might be on the table.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
think so too. And we would also need to have some conversations with the Lawrence Youth Football League, because they do sponsor 7th grade football right now. So it's not something that we could tear out from underneath them, because they're already enrolling kids and taking payments for this coming season. So we can't snatch that away from them.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. again, agree. It was just a few years ago, had the opportunity to volunteer at the Junior Olympics, and that's what we've heard from students that were coming as spectators, like, where's our sports? And like a lot of the students that I know who ran on a track team, ran cross country, they had the money, they would have to travel to Kansas City to participate on these private clubs. So I think that's an excellent idea, and it conditions for all other sports, so for a lot of the sports that they play, so.
I did receive a letter from Jonas Leonard. He's a fifth grader over at Woodlawn. He sent me a letter, and in the letter, he sent me his persuasive essay. And I wanted to just cite a couple of things that he cited. He cited a University of Kansas study that looked at the performance of students compared to the participation in athletics, and the results of that study showed that student athletes had higher GPAs and 10% higher graduation rates. He also stated that there are more pros than cons to middle school sports. The most important pros are weight control, self-esteem, less juvenile arrests, less teen pregnancies, more committed to school, and less use of drugs, cigarettes, or vaping. So Jonas Leonard is an advocate for seventh grade sports as well.
That's 2 more years.
Okay, does anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make it.
Okay.
I move the Board of Education approve reinstating seventh grade girls and boys basketball and add seventh and eighth grade cross country to middle school athletics to begin in the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
Johnson,
Yes.
Fincher, Gordon Ross,
Yes.
Yeah,
Kimball,
yes. Yes. Excited to vote
passes
for that.
5-0.
Thank
Great.
you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, next up, we have a communications report with Julie Boyle and Rachel Asbury.
Good evening. I'm Julie Boyle, Executive Director of Communications, and this is my teammate, Rachel Asbury, Communications Specialist. And we are excited to be with you again, as Kristen said, in this room rather than in the stairwell tonight, to share with you some highlights and challenges in our communications efforts this past school year. Maybe. Uh-oh. Our first priority, of course, with a new superintendent was introducing the community to Dr. Anthony Lewis, and vice versa, introducing him to the community. This was a lot easier than I anticipated it would be because of his talents with communication and also with building relationships. I know that you have seen him interact with students, and it is a beautiful thing to watch. He is very good. He's a people person and very good with building those relationships in the community.
Keep going,
Rachel.
Julie. Keep going. It's my evaluation tonight.
If you know me, I don't say things just to say them. I honestly am saying that it was a joy to be able to watch Dr. Lewis interact with our students especially. And Rachel and I took him to every campus prior to him even starting his job with Lawrence Public Schools. We didn't quite get to one school, but we were on every campus. And it was just fun to watch him interact. It was hard to get him out of classrooms, away from students, to stay on schedule, but it was a joy to watch.
Thank you, Julie.
Had that experience as well.
Good sport. I asked him if we could make a cartoon out of him, and he said sure. So I want to give credit to Carrie Seelam in the print shop. She's a graphic artist, and she created the cartoon and moving GIFs that we have used as well throughout the year that have been a lot of fun, and I think students enjoy that, and his wife Tiffany also enjoyed the one, seeing him dancing especially. I told Dr. Lewis we were going to treat his arrival like a bond issue, and we did. We pulled out all the stops that we would for a bond issue except for a mailer, and that was basically because of the expense. And we knew we would be out in the community with the listening and learning tour. But we did use our website, social media, the staff newsletter, automated calls and emails. The LEA helped immensely. Thank you, Shane. And we put him on a speaking tour. He spoke to groups again, even before he was officially on duty here. He was out speaking to community groups. And then the listening and learning tour was advertised on school marquees, just like we do with the bond issue. I was a little nervous about participation in 6 locations for the listening and learning tour. We traditionally haven't done that many locations, and I know that you have been to some meetings where they've been very small groups, and we appreciate anyone who comes and talking with any size group, but I did want to see some good turnouts, and we did have that as evidenced by these numbers. And you have to remember that the survey numbers came on the heels of the superintendent search survey, which asked some of the very same questions about strengths and challenges in our district. So I estimate that people filled that one out and then turned around and filled out this one as well. So kudos to our community. Our community engagement is amazing. Thank you, clicker.
You are welcome.
I was going to click myself, but Rachel can click for me. As soon as the listening and learning tour ended, we were using that input, and I hope the community continues to stay engaged to see how that input is used in the strategic planning process. We had 5 forums, so again, I'm a little nervous about turnout with the forums, 2 student forums, 2 community forums, and a staff forum, and they were very well attended. Polly Murish has done a great job coordinating with Greenway Strategy Group. I appreciated that not also being on our plate because that is a lot of work as well. I personally have been very gratified hearing the student comments, and we will take to heart the students who looked at the draft framework and said, I don't know what this means. What are you saying? And we want it to be in language that is student-friendly and that they understand and that they can see themselves in and see that improvement happening. So Rachel and I will be working on that. As you know, we did have some issues at the high school level with weapons, and we responded with a couple of more community conversations. The first one had more than 350 people attend at Lawrence High School. That is a challenge for anyone trying to engage a community in a conversation that large. I thought we did an excellent job, and Dr. Lewis did an excellent job of managing that in small groups so everyone's voice could be heard. I know sometimes people expect to come and do an open mic night, but then you would only hear from as many people as you can get in a certain amount of time. So it was a great way to collect that feedback from everyone who attended the community conversations. Again, I want to shout out to our district administrators. I don't know if you realize that after working their regular workday, they attended, some of them, all of the listening and learning sessions, all of the strategic planning forums, and both of the community conversations. So that was a lot of hours put in by our district administrators. Also, Be Smart, Deb Boatwright attended both of these community conversations. What a great partnership we now have with Deb, and she is going to give us videos and information that we can continue to push out to students, to our staff, and to families about gun safety, which is just, you would think that everyone would know this information, but it's important, obviously, from the incidents that we had this year to remind people. We did have a new communication tool this year with the new elementary and secondary directors, Darcy Krause and Rick Henry. They summarized the week, if you will, in their end-of-week emails to principals. Principals are very busy people with a lot of things going on in their professional lives, and so this was a way for them to have targeted communication from their directors and taking things from the district and calendar events and summarizing those in emails. So I sincerely appreciate that effort that's ongoing. After the community conversations, again, we listened. We took input from our community and immediately set to work on short and long-term safety plans. And 2 of those things have already been implemented. As you know, we reduced the amount of entrances at Lawrence High School and issued students card reader badges at Lawrence High. And then our All Students Safe online reporting tool was another addition. That's our mobile version there of the website. Contact Us and All Students Safe are the same product. Those links just take you to a different place. So Contact Us takes you to a place where you can ask questions, give a suggestion, share a concern, give us a compliment. And All Students Safe will take you to forms where you can report bullying, report other safety concerns. So they're the same tool with those different functions. We have not had a quality online reporting tool like this, and we think it's a great addition for our students who may feel uncomfortable talking to someone in person at their school about a concern. They can be anonymous if they choose to, reporting concerns through All Students Safe. Thank you, Rachel. This is a little bit of the introductory data from All Students Safe. That's another positive aspect of this tool, is it gives us data, which I know Dr. Lewis loves and demands. I want to thank Elise Donnell for helping set this tool up, and Joe Smizer, who I believe is in the back tonight, running technology. He created the All Students Safe logo and made sure that was on all of our websites. We did a soft launch in February and really told no one about it other than internal staff. And you can see people found it. It is predominant on our websites. It says, contact us, and they did. So they found us in February, and then we did an actual launch with getting information out to our families and community, coinciding with the March community conversation about safety that we had at Free State. So we wanted to launch the All Students Safe link at that time, and you'll see doubled the amount of people using the tool in March with that launch. We were steady in April, and then a little bit of a boost in May, which I attribute to the online student registration process, people asking questions about that. The customer type is a little fuzzy. You might not be able to see that, but this is self-identified. 64% identified as parents or guardians, 19% community, 14% students, and 7% staff so far. And this is as of May 26th. I did not update this since our board meeting got canceled on the 28th. The word cloud just picks out words that people are sharing, and the largest words are shared the most. So it's nice to see like, please, and thank you as large words, but you'll also see enrollment and information in PowerSchool and other things that you would expect, need and help. The critical word frequency is we identified certain words to alert a team here at the district office of things that are critical. And help was one of those words. It's a little bit misleading because someone can say, I need help getting my transcript from the high school rather than help with an actual emergency. But you can see the number of times that help, safety, incident, bullied, and bullying were mentioned in this time period. On the left-hand side are some of the statistics. This tool also sends customer satisfaction surveys. It keeps track of how quickly we respond to people who are using the tool, and they give us a score. So as of May 26, we had 458 contacts, a score of 9.1 out of 10, and our overall age of response is 0.6 of a day, so about half a day that it took us, and our goal was 48 hours, so we're definitely exceeding our goal. The survey showed 63 positive experience and 5 negative. We don't always have to send a survey, and we may think about changing that. If someone is yelling at you via email, you probably think, oh, I'm not going to send them a survey. But we can talk more about that in the future. It is a new tool. And you can see the breakdown of questions, concerns, comments, and we did get 3% compliments and suggestions. And the top categories, as you might expect, are high schools have the most traffic on this tool, and enrollment center. Lots of questions about enrollment. I pulled some school messenger notification system data because of our transition this year in student information management systems. I kind of knew and expected what I see here because of that transition and our lack of confidence in our data initially with that transition. we were not using this tool as much as we have in the past because of the lack of confidence in our contact data. So we started using it in August. We were getting information from families. Why am I getting this? I'm not at that school. This is not my child. We stopped using it September, October, November, December, except for manually uploading lists. And this is an automated tool. You don't want to have to manually upload lists to use it. It defeats the purpose. So that's why I believe that we did have an increase in number of calls, but just a slight increase. With the winter weather that we had, this should have been a huge increase because of all the calls that I made this year. But we did have a huge increase in emails, and I wanted to explain that. Our teachers now email their classes through School Messenger. In the past, they would have used Skyward. PowerSchool and School Messenger are paired, so that's the increase there in the number of emails because our teachers are using it. When I practiced this presentation, Dr. Lewis said, "What about the website?" And I said, "Very good question." I didn't have this on the slide, but our website data shows hits on our site are up 48% this year over last year, 661,000 hits. January, February peak time, winter weather, and inclement weather, our menu and our calendar continue to be the popular subjects on our website. I know that you don't like to just hear rosy things, so I wanted to share some of our challenges, and we did have quite a few this year. I also already mentioned the transition in student information management systems. I do want to thank the PowerSchool team. They have been awesome in working overtime, weekends, nights, troubleshooting these things, and we think we've turned a corner and are headed in a good direction. Inclement weather was not only a personal challenge, but a challenge really for everyone. Working families, it's very hard to have 7 snow days and a late start day, our first ever late start day in the district. It's very hard for our classified staff who are counting on those work days and those paychecks. And it's extremely hard on our certified staff who are having to compress their teaching into fewer days. So inclement weather is just hard on everyone. And I told Dr. Lewis and him making the decision, I do not make the decision, that it is a no-win decision. You just don't win with inclement weather decisions either way. I believe that was an issue with staff morale, as was the transition in technology and our negotiations, impasse, and mediation. So we had a lot of negative things, a lot of challenges happening in the fall. And on top of the safety concerns I've already mentioned. It's difficult to focus on our communication priorities when you are putting out fires. It's the little fire guy there. You're popping around and putting out fires, and there's only so much time in the day when you can focus on things that you had planned and things that you really want to give attention to. It was a joy to have Rachel to help with that. Rachel's going to talk some more about academic focus being a challenge when she gives her social media report in just a bit. But I will say social media has been a huge growth area for us with bringing Rachel on, and I thank you for that position from the bottom of my heart. She is a perfect fit as a teammate, and she is also really, really good at her job. There are some challenges with social media, as all of you know, the need for speed. It is very difficult, especially in an emergency, in getting things out quickly. We are trying to collect information. We're working with the schools. They are working with the police department or the fire and medical department. And we are trying to gather accurate information to share with families and the community as a whole. I have never seen, prior to this year, the newspaper sharing the time that something was reported to the police and the time that it was reported to families and the time that it was reported to the media in the article. And that's a tough thing to set for us because, like I said, we want to get it out quickly, but we want to gather quality, accurate information to share. And with rumor control, as you know, social media, there are a lot of sites with inaccurate information, and we want to make sure that people know our sites are the official sites for accurate information. And we have to build that reputation. And I think we're doing a good job of it. There have been shifts in local media. This is our second year without 6 News. They used to come into our classrooms throughout the year doing lots of positive stories, so we do miss that presence. I certainly miss it on elections, that live show that they used to do. And I know the Journal World has had some staffing issues. Dylan wasn't ready to say he's our new reporter. He's substituting in June for Mackenzie. Mackenzie Clark has done a great job with us this year, but she has also covered health and wellness, Douglas County Commission, and she's a copy editor. So it's very difficult for her to get into the classroom and write stories about what we're all about, what we're doing with kids and student learning. I'm going to shut up and let Rachel talk.
Hi.
You want me to click for you?
You can. I'm always happy to be here. I love my job. I love what I do. And I really care about public education because I think it's the door for so many people to be successful. And that's what we do here, and that's great. The last time I was here, we didn't have an Instagram, and now we do have one. We launched in August, and it's been my favorite social media platform to work with, and I think we're just beginning to scratch the surface of what it can do, which we'll talk about more. But this is the question that I try and answer every day I come to work. How many of you are parents or know kids in the community and have asked them, what did you do at school today? And that's what I want to help answer, whether that's support for our staff and our building administrators in social media training, what we do here in the district for social media, and then the classroom features that I've been able to do, our staff features, and things along those lines. My top 3 priorities, especially on social media, are to demonstrate our KISA goals and our district initiatives in action. So when we talk about relationships and relevance, that's great, but then what does that mean? What does that mean for our teachers? How does equity look in our classrooms? And that's what I try to cover. We know, because we've been in classrooms and we talk to staff members, how great our students are and our staff and these amazing things that they're doing. But a lot of times, other folks don't know that. And so I hope to be almost like their megaphone to help them tell that story. And that's what I believe our narrative is what's going on in the classroom, what's going on in our schools, and to really promote and take charge of what that means. And then to communicate where people spend their time. We can craft the most beautiful message, it has all the right words, it's grammatically correct, but if it's not given to people where they are, then it's not efficient. And so we've started to communicate where people spend their time. We're looking more into what that means and other avenues that we can communicate with our families. Oh no, it's not clicking. It is now. So this school year was my first full school year at Lawrence Public Schools, and I was able to get into 30 classrooms and feature them, and then feature 39 individual staff members, a lot of which you all watched the board meetings for, things like Para Appreciation Day, Teacher Appreciation Week, and things like that. These are some highlights. I went to a PE class. I've been able to do every grade level in elementary school, 7th and 8th grade in middle schools, and then 1 academic and 1 special in the high schools. And I was able to go on an early childhood home visit, which was super rewarding. It's really cool to see what that program does, especially in folks' homes. Jack Rummel was our first student to ever receive an esports scholarship, which is really fun to go to, and he is a character, super excited, and I think he's going to do great at Baker. And then our Southwest engineering classes, taught by Jamie Shaw. She does a project every year where they make toys around December. So they have to build a toy that pulls and has a different mechanism. And they were sitting there telling me about all the different mechanisms, and I was like, great. I will make sure you sound as smart as you sound to me. It's really rewarding to be in the classrooms, and I think it's been a great opportunity for me to build those relationships with our staff members, so they invite me back, and they are excited when I come, which is what I want. So this is what I presented last year as our 3-phased social media plan. So we started building awareness, and we're still in that phase. I would say we're in between phase 1 and 2, where we're establishing USD 497 on social media, building that foundation so we can build within the district on a school level. Engagement, which is those online opportunities, Facebook Live, hashtag campaigns, Instagram takeovers, to kind of see our comments grow on our pages, so people, when they have discussions about our schools, and especially online, they're going to our pages to have those conversations, which help us with that rumor control and also accurate information instead of going elsewhere online for those conversations and those discussions. And then eventually, hopefully, what I call advocacy, but inspiring an online community. So we have multiple people in multiple areas online talking about our school and sharing the story of our district. And that is the goal. Maybe I clicked too fast. So our social media goals for this year, I had 2 awareness goals and 2 engagement goals, and then some really technical stuff that I won't bore you with. But for Facebook, 5,000 likes, 5,500 followers, 10% engagement rate, and engagement rate is likes, comments, shares, divided by the unique users that see each post. And then to do a Facebook Live in the year. And then for Twitter, it was, you can see the rest of them. But we'll show you where we ended up. So we exceeded all of our follower goals on all of our social media platforms. We met or were close on engagement rate. So on Twitter and for our Instagram posts, we still have a little bit of growth to do, but that's okay because Twitter's only a year old and Instagram is almost a year old. So we're close. And we were able to do a strategic planning session live. Dr. Lewis and I went live on Facebook. We had some hiccups, but I think we had a good time. And that is our second most watched video on our Facebook page ever, which is cool. On Twitter, for the first day of school, we launched hashtag First Day in 497. It was an opportunity for families and kids and community members to share first day photos. It was our most popular day on Twitter, and we had a lot of school families that shared their photos, and 2 of our board members shared kid photos, and it was a really good time to see all of those people celebrating their first day of school. And then on Instagram, we've been able to do staff Instagram takeovers. Dr. Lewis has done one. Abby Hoffman at LHS has done one. Brandon Daly and Robin Vilcek, 5th grade teachers at Woodlawn. Lisa Greenwood, our West Library Media Specialist. And then Fallon Faroki, our Sunset Hill Library Media Specialist, have all hosted one. And that's a point of growth for next year. It's an Instagram takeover is where I forget sometimes that people don't know. An Instagram takeover is when a person that's not usually the person that runs the account takes over our Instagram story, which is a 24-hour video compilation, and then posts on your page. So their requirements are they have to communicate what they did during the day and show a behind the scenes of what it's like in their world. And so they have to post 3 photos on our Instagram minimum. A lot post more, which is always great. And then they have to be creating a story throughout the day. A story is video, photos, they can do polls, quizzes, add GIFs. It's a world. And our staff members have started volunteering for it, which is really exciting to see as well. Instagram story engagement is our most engaging social media point of entry across all 3 of our social media platforms, which I think speaks to the power of what we're doing.
Rachel, do you have any plans of letting students take over Instagram?
Yes, I just have to figure out what that looks like logistically, and how we can get a device in their hand that has the password. I usually go and sit and talk to whoever's taking over, put the password in for them, and set them up with the account. But for a student, I think I would start in the high school level and communicate with all of their teachers that they were going to have a social media device in their classroom, and we just haven't started that yet.
Yeah.
But I hope to.
As you look at students, you could also look at alumni as well. That might be a good thing too.
A day in the life of what you can do when you graduate. Yeah. Thank you. For next year, I'm still looking through our social media data for the school year. We know we want to make a social media plan specifically for the strategic plan, and that's what we're working on right now. Increase social media training for staff members and for our administrators. And then something that we've noticed, I've collected an online snapshot of what our schools have been communicating and what the influence of our schools, how much influence they have online. And something that I've noticed is our schools talk a lot about school news, cancellations, reschedules, events, but they're not communicating what's going on in the classroom as much on online platforms that are public and accessible. And so that is something that we're going to be working on a lot this next school year, is helping our staff members and our buildings talk about what's going on in school. I think in the elementary level, classroom learning was only talked about 14% in the school year, and in the secondary level, it was only 8%. So that is a point of growth that we're going to be working on. And then those Instagram takeovers, Facebook Live, hashtags, we want to have a monthly engagement opportunity for our online communities, and that's what we'll be doing next year.
We're really good about communicating about fundraisers. We need to focus more on student learning, and Rachel's well on her way of started to work with staff on some of that training. We already know some of our focus areas for next year, and we do not take the summer off in the communications office. We're working already on our planning for the strategic plan. I won't read all of these, but I do want to mention that Dr. Lewis asked us about refreshing our district logo. I believe it's the same age as I am, or perhaps a little older. And we are working with a marketing firm to give us some options, and then we'll bring together a couple of you, a couple of parents, a couple of students, a couple of community members, some staff, administrators, and a large group to look at those options and choose a new logo for the district. We have had a new website template. Some of our schools are already using it. I think about half. We want to get the rest of them using it, and then the district needs to move toward the new template. That is a lot of work in moving information around, and so that's a big challenge. We want to bring texting in emergency situations to our school messenger automated notification system. It has always had that capability. We just haven't taken the leap, but we're ready to take the leap now. We had to get the infrastructure in place in our student information management system and in school messenger to collect that information, put it in the right place so it all works, and we think we're almost there. We have a little ways to go with getting staff contacts into PowerSchool. We do not have that yet. Luckily, while we were getting our ducks in a row, the FCC changed its regulations. Now families can opt out instead of opting in to texting from our schools. So it will go something like, we will send them a text from USD 497 that says, you are now receiving emergency texts from USD 497. If you do not wish to receive them, text stop. And that will be the way that we'll communicate, of course, before we do that, but that will be the way they will opt out instead of having to opt in, which is so much easier. We want to market the mobile experience. We have quite a few apps, and we want to start getting the word out about those. PowerSchool, School Messenger, NutraSlice is our menus. My School Bucks is our online adding to your lunch account. eFunds is paying your school fees online. Seesaw is an app that our elementary schools are using quite heavily with parents, so we want to start marketing those opportunities. I already mentioned safety, the social media training, KISA and redesign. I know Lawrence High School's transformation is very important to communicate. As you mentioned, GR, there are a lot of alumni in Lawrence who went to Lawrence High School, and they want to know what's happening there. They don't want to wait 3 years to come to an open house. So we need to have a plan in place to continue to communicate about the improvements, not only there, but all of our schools, but especially Lawrence High. Lots of retired staff also in the community. We are transitioning to Gmail by July 1st, so that's another big one for our staff. And Joe Smizer has been offering a lot of in-person and online opportunities and videos and tips and tricks to help people get ready for that. High School Late Start is ongoing, and then Dr. Lewis is going to work with us to revamp our staff recognition program. It's always a struggle to get nominations. You would think that even for the foundation's $10,000 award, that nominations would be flooding in, but it's difficult to get nominations. So we want to see a recognition program at the building level that then builds, they honor folks in their own school, and then they nominate them to the district, and then district recognizes them and then nominates them to a state level. Have more tiers in that program. And I want to thank Truity Credit Union. I worked with them many years ago. Ginger Weiner was there at the time to add cash stipends to all of our district awards. In the past, they were honors, certificates, and now they all have cash stipends, which Truity, on some of them, have increased those amounts, which we really appreciate. Rachel has a celebrations video from the school year to share with you, but first we wanted to take any other questions that you might have.
As you look at that role of trying to get information out fast versus trying to get it be accurate and cut down rumors and things like that, have you talked at all about, when you first hear about something, about just putting something out there? We're aware of an incident at Lawrence High School, and we're gathering information just to stop the conversation out there of, well, I found out because my kid texted me, but the school district didn't find out for 3 more hours. Just to put a piece of information out there that you are aware, that sort of aspect of it.
We can definitely look into that, GR. A lot of times we are acting on a report that is unverified at the time, so you hate to alarm people unnecessarily if the report turns out to be a false report or a misunderstanding. And during the time that we had the weapons incidents, we were having lots of misunderstandings and misinformation.
I understand.
So I'm just,
Yes.
but I'm a little, moving a little bit slower with that in terms of not wanting to unnecessarily alarm our parents.
I understand.
But yes,
I'm certainly on your side on this and try and
thank you.
stop them from posting things that aren't true.
Any other questions?
Thank you both so much. This is awesome. You guys have done great
Our
work.
tradition to do a video, and Rachel has produced a video for the celebration of the 18-19 school year.
You
So-
can dance if you want to.
Guys. Good morning.
Hi.
No one's better than you. Okay? Thank you, guys.
My name is John Palmgren. I'm going to be a second grade teacher at Prairie Park Elementary.
Not only is it important to build relationships, but we must also make our content relevant to the lives of our students.
We have an amazing opportunity right before us. And the work that we're doing, and the work that I want to do, is legacy work. Hillcrest Elementary School, the National Blue Ribbon School Award.
My topic is about Ismael Zambada Garcia. Selling water bottles that have like our logo and stuff on them, so that we can earn money to give people water purifiers so that they can have clean, drinkable water.
We were asked to make a pull toy, so something that you pull with a string and it follows you. Like ceramics glass, because you can be free and like put your words that you can't say into a piece.
How much surface we need it to break.
Thought it was important for people to see it, because if you're not exposed to that, like, you won't know what to do if you are.
And he just kind of gives it like a safe environment.
That's pretty much all I can say.
stop before Julian Treasure starts.
One final comment. Communication is everyone in the district's responsibility, and the people that I mentioned during the report are just a snippet of the help that we get throughout the district with communication efforts. So I appreciate everybody's help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just add, that was the first thing I had on my notes here, Julie, and I'll just say it again. Although communication is everybody's job, this team of two really does a phenomenal job in terms of communicating and getting the image of our district that we want out. You know, it's important for us to tell our own story. Coming from a previous district that had 10 people in their department, I will tell you, these two really get the job done. I know it's it's a lot of work, but they really do a lot. You know, when you think about, one of the questions that I asked all of the members of executive leadership team when I got here, what else do I need to know, in order to be successful? And one of the things that Julie said was trust the people to do your job. And I really do trust both of you to, and it's evident that you're doing a really good job and really make me look good as well. But I had the opportunity to just watch Julie one evening go through what she goes through to just make one severe weather call, and it's really a lot. While people get that 30-second minute phone call or brief email, it's a lot that goes into it. And I know whenever we craft emails, how we have to sit there at the computer and read over it, and then hope we got it right. But we have the opportunity to say, "Oh, I didn't mean that." But with communications department, they have one time to get it right. And so I definitely want to thank both of you. And Rachel does a tremendous job in terms of videos and making magic happen. So kudos to both of you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is to go into executive session. I will go ahead and just read this recommendation. I'll move the Board of Education recess to executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of the individuals to be discussed, with Dr. Anthony Lewis, Dr. Anna Stubblefield, David Cunningham, Sam Reed Devon invited to be present, and with the board to return an open session in this room in 45 minutes. So
See it. You're on your own.
I really don't like doing math, but I think that's somewhere around 7:57 with no action to follow.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.